DreAllDay.com.
You're now tuned into the show where you learn the discipline to show up day after day, to do the work, the confidence to put yourself out there boldly and authentically, and the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there, even when the success you've expected to achieve has yet to be achieved. And on top of all this, you get a huge dose of personal initiative, which is the go-getter energy that moves any one of us, including yourself, to go and make things happen instead of waiting for things to happen. Well, we're not done. On top of all that, we're going to put all this together into one bundle, one framework, one philosophy, one lifestyle. We wrote several books on the subject, and we are giving you this daily masterclass. Yes, every single day we're giving you this masterclass, all under one umbrella that is called Work on Your Game. My name is Dre Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day, and welcome to the show. And today's topic is we're going to talk about the real price of success. The real price of success, not the price of success that you heard about on Instagram, not the price of success that somebody posted in their Facebook status update, not the price of success that you might have heard about in some bullshit book that just gave you the surface level hype up talk, but the real price of success we're going to address right here in today's masterclass. You should buckle up for this one. So before we get into it, first of all, let me remind everybody, or inform you if you're new, that I have a text message line where I want you to text me and tell me the best insight, the best idea that you got from today's masterclass. What are you going to do different or think differently based on what you heard here today? My direct text message number is 305-384-6894. There, not only will you be able to engage with me directly, but once you're in my community, you will also be receiving my daily motivation text message, which I send out every single morning to everyone who's in my community. And you can ask anybody who's in there to show you their phone and show you the daily motivation messages I send out every day, just so you know what's coming. Or you can just text me and find out for yourself. Why not? The number is 305-384-6894. It's free of charge, doesn't cost you anything. Just text me and you'll be in my community. So today we're talking again, the real price of success. And let me be clear up front. This price of success I'm going to share with you here today, this is a price that most people never pay. This is the price that keeps most people from being successful. And I'll give you a simple litmus test so you can understand how I'm confident enough to say what I just said, that most people never pay this price. Think of all the people that you know. I'm talking all the people that you know. When I say know, I'm not talking about somebody who you follow on social media, but you don't know them. I mean, a person who, if you've seen them in person, you would know who they are, and they would know who you are, and y'all would shake hands, and y'all would at least stop and talk to each other, say hi, hey, how's the kids, how's the weather, how you doing in your job, etc. I'm talking about someone who you would recognize them, you know who they are, they recognize you, they know who you are. So think of all the people that you know. Now, studies show that the average person, average adult, knows about 750 people. It seems like a lot or a little bit. It's 8 billion people on the planet. So it's, in the grand scheme of things, it's a very, very small number. But maybe it seems like a lot to you. But the average person knows about 750 people. So let's say probably between, even if you don't talk to anybody, you don't have any friends, between 250 and, let's say if you're a social butterfly, maybe 2,000 people. Okay? So all those people. And I'm talking about them, they know you. Of all the people that you know, how many people do you know that are successful? Now, you define what success means. You come up with your own definition of what that word means, successful. Based on your definition of the word successful, what percentage of all the people that you know fit the definition? How many people do you know who qualify as successful? Is it 100% of them? Is everybody you know successful? Half? 10%? 2%? 1%? None of them? A third? How many people, of all the people you know, are successful? When I asked this question to audiences, I can only think of one time ever I had somebody say like 50%. I don't think that person was thinking really too hard. But if you really think about it, and the answers that I've gotten, most of the time when I ask this question to audiences, the answer is always something less than 50%, and usually is less than 15%. Less than 15%. I've gotten answers like 10%, 2%, 1%, 3%. Very small numbers. And usually people are exaggerating. 10% is a lot, honestly. What percentage of the people you know are successful? You can text me and give me your answer. And just make sure you give me context so I know what you're talking about when you text. Don't just text me the number, because I might not know what you're talking about. Tell me what percentage of people that you know are successful, just based on your best estimate. Usually that number is less than half. So when I say most people never pay the price, when I say most, that means more than half never do it. At least half don't do it. And this is why this is the real price of success, what I'm going to share with you here today. I didn't even tell you what it is yet. But now that I have properly whet your appetite for it, let's get into it. Point number one, topic again, the real price of success. I'm not going to bury the lead and make you wait all episode to get the point. Here it is. Now, in one of my favorite books, the book is called Thick Face, Black Heart by Ning Chu. And I've mentioned this book before. So if you have not read this book yet, then it means you're not paying attention, because anytime I mention a book on this show, that means you need to go get it and you need to read it. But in this book, Thick Face, Black Heart, Chin explains, and this is a quote, each one of us is driven to a certain extent by fear. Fear to rise, fear to fall, fear that we will remain in the same place. So many of us think that we want to be rich, that we want to be famous, that we want to accomplish great deeds, but often these feelings are just idle ruminations. Most of the things we think we want come at the price of leaving behind our familiar life and venturing into the unknown. Every time we accomplish something and move ahead, we have to exchange the known conditions of our life for uncertainty and unfamiliarity. Even though most people think they are trying to succeed, they are simply going through the motions. The last thing in the world that they want is to get off the familiar treadmill and actually get somewhere. Before we can succeed, we must clearly understand that success means change and the risk of failure. The failure of those who do not try anything great is commonplace and comfortably private. The failure of those who attempt extraordinary accomplishments is much more public and generally accompanied by sighs of satisfaction from ordinary failures. Close quote. Now let's break down what Chin explained here in this quote. It's one of probably my favorite quote from this book. There are a lot of favorite quotes I got from this book. So actually, let me not get ahead of myself, say it's my favorite, but it's one of the best. It's the reason why I'm building this episode around this very phrase straight from her book, is that every human being has some level of fear. We all experience fear on some level, that we may not all express it the same way. We may not all be as willing to admit it in the exact same way, but every human being has some level of fear, because if we didn't have any fear, we probably wouldn't make it to adulthood, because we do something stupid and get ourselves killed. So fear helps us stay alive. But I'm talking about the kind of fear that stops us from our success. That fear can also, it works both ways, right? This is the yin and the yang of that energy, and there's a yin and yang in everything that we do in life. And as she's explained here, many of us say that we want success. So you ask anybody, do you want to be successful? And most people will say yes. So most people you ask, they want to be successful. Very rarely you will come across somebody say, no, I don't want to be successful. I want to be a failure, or I just want to stay exactly where I'm at and not go any further. Most people say that they want success in life, especially people like you who are listening to a personal development show. You're the type of person who reads books. You're the type of person who invests in yourself in time, money, attention, energy, and focus. Of course you want to be successful. You are taking actions on a daily basis to create success in your life. So of course you want to be successful. And when we're thinking to ourselves and talking to ourselves, we think about and talk about the success we want all the time, even more than we express it publicly to other people. But as Chin explains here, most of the time we're just saying that, and we're just going through the motions of what we think is a chase of success. We think we're going after success, but we're really not. And as she explains here, and this is the key, this point right here, every time you move ahead in life, you had to exchange the known situation, the known circumstances of life for some uncertain situations. Because to move ahead in life, that means you have to do some different things, right? In order to do some different things, you read the Mirror of Motivation. What does that mean? You have to be somebody different. You have to change who you are being as a person in order to do different things, in order to get different results. Now, the challenge that many people have in life, and it's the reason why I wrote the Mirror of Motivation, the reason why I give it to you free at mirrorofmotivation.com, is that many people want to get the change in life. They want to get the results. Then they want to do different things, and then they want to change who they're being as a person. But they have the equation backwards. This is why many people think they are going after success, yet they are sabotaging their own success because they're doing the equation backwards and they'll never get there. What you actually need to do is change who you are being as a person. That means your internal environment has to change. Then you change what you do. That means your actions will change, and then your results then you get the results. Your external environment changes. This is the order of operation. That order must be respected. And what Chin is explaining here is that for you to advance in life and get that change of external circumstances, i.e. the having, the results, you got to change your internal world, and then you have to change your actions. But many people say that they're going after success, but they don't want to change their internal world, and they don't want to change their actions. They just want to go after success. They want to get the goal without changing who they're being as a person and without changing their actions. And then they wonder why they're not getting success. Then they say, well, I'm doing XYZ, but it's not working. I want to achieve ABC, but I haven't been able to do it. I have questions about how to get a DEF outcome, but I don't even know what I'm doing. I need somebody who can help me out. When the main issue, and they may need help with this, they may be right in knowing that they need help, it might be a good idea, is that they had not done any work to change their internal environment, and they haven't done any work to change their actions. Therefore, the external environment isn't changing. This is what happens with a lot of people. So many people unconsciously, Chin doesn't say this in so many words, I'm interpreting her statements here. Unconsciously, many people don't want to get off the familiar treadmill, meaning they don't want to change their internal environment. They don't want to change who they're being as a person. They don't want to change their actions, but they still want success, or at least they say they want success. But before you can succeed, according to Chin, you must understand that success means that you must change and you must risk failure. Right? We talked about yesterday in the episode about entrepreneurship. You don't have to be an entrepreneur to understand that you must risk failure in order to change. When you change in life, there's a risk that your change might not produce the result that you want. I mean, that's just simple logic, right? You don't have to be an entrepreneur for this to matter. You could be an athlete, you could work at a bank, you could be a parent, you could be retired. If you make change in your life, that change may or may not produce the outcome that you want, but that is the risk that you take in undergoing change. The problem that many people have in life is that because they are so afraid of that risk that they never change at all, and therefore render themselves ineligible to create success. And as Chin concludes here, or at least the conclusion of this phrase that I borrowed from her book, is that the failure of not changing at all is commonplace and private. Nobody notices that you didn't change. It's private. Nobody really cares. Nobody's paying attention. You didn't do anything, so nobody's paying attention to you. But if you make a big change in life, that means you take a big risk in order to get a big success, which may or may not happen. You're betting on yourself. There's a gamble here. We all know what happens to gamblers, right? Sometimes you win and sometimes the house takes you and you lose. So many people, instead of trying for success by taking a big risk and undergoing big change, which could lead to the success, they do nothing at all so that they can stay neutral and avoid failing. But at the same time, when you try to avoid failing, you avoid succeeding. This is the crux of the real price of success, what I just explained right there. But we're only on point number one. It gets better. Let's move on to point number two. Today's topic, once again, is the real price of success. Number two. Now, here's a Dre Baldwin quote. Everything on the show is a Dre Baldwin quote, unless otherwise noted. Here it is. The change that you want in life will require, emphasize, require that you trade some of your current comforts and known circumstances for the uncertainty that accompanies new actions, new places, new people, and new habits. Close quote. Let me say that quote again. The change you want will require that you trade some of your current comforts and known circumstances for the uncertainty that comes with new actions, places, people, and habits. Now, that sounds pretty easy, right? Because I've already dangled the carrot in front of you. You already know the title of this episode, which is The Price of Success. And you're listening still at this point because you want success. So when I'm telling you, all right, you want to be successful? Yes. Okay, then that means you got to deal with the uncertainty that comes with actions, places, people, and habits that are different from what you're used to. And you're like, all right, cool, I'll do that. Yes, it sounds pretty simple when we're just talking about it, right? Simple, easy, and desirable while we're just talking about it. Until you realize what those changes actually are. See, it sounds good when I say, all right, we got to do some new things, go to some new places, you got to deal with some new people, and you got to pick up some new habits in order to be successful. You're like, all right, Dre, let's do it. Tell me what I got to do. And it sounds good up until the point that you realize, oh, these are the new actions? Oh, this is the new place I got to go to? Oh, wait a minute, these are the new people that I got to deal with? Those are the habits that I got to pick up. Then you start second guessing yourself. Then you start questioning. Then you start wondering, do you really want to do this? That's when you run into the third day. That's when you get to the point where you have to make a decision. Subtitle of the third day, my book, my newest book, is a decision that separates the pros from the amateurs. It's a decision. It's not a circumstance. It's not something that happens to you. It's a choice. Is at that point, you got to decide, do I really want success? Do I really want to deal with these new actions, places, people, and habits? Am I really willing to throw away my old actions, places, people, and habits in order to get the success that I, 5 minutes ago, was certain that I wanted? Now, here's a logical truth. And I want you to look in the mirror and think about this logical truth that I'm about to give you. If you are already comfortable with these changes of actions, places, people, and habits, you would have made them already. The fact that they're uncomfortable, or they would be uncomfortable once you find out what they are, that is the exact reason why you haven't done it yet. And this is why we have the cliche, getting comfortable being uncomfortable, as a attribute of creating success. As a trait of people who are successful, they are comfortable being uncomfortable because, even though you may have heard the phrase, you might not have heard anybody explain why it is as true as it is. It's because when you get comfortable being uncomfortable, that means you are willing to continually trade your old for the new in terms of actions, places, people, and habits. Because you're willing to do that and deal with that constant discomfort, that's why you're able to continue to move up and advance in life, because life involves constant change if you're willing to constantly change. Now, life is constantly changing whether you want it to or not, but are you constantly changing? That is optional. You have a choice. Now, the world can change around you and you not change at all. You can do that if you want. We call that the status quo. Problem with the status quo is the world is moving and you're not. So there, by definition, you are technically losing. You are falling back by standing still. But that's a choice. You have the option of doing that. It's your life. You do whatever you want. This is a no judgment zone here at Work on Your Game. But I'm just laying the options out for you so that you know what you're getting into or what you're staying out of based on the choices that you make or the non-choices that you don't make. The fact that these changes are uncomfortable for you is why you haven't done them yet, because if they were comfortable for you, you already did them. So I'm not telling you need to they don't even have to be comfortable for you. They can still be uncomfortable for you, but you still need to get them done in order for you to get to where you need to get to. Sometimes in life, you got to deal with a certain level of discomfort in order to move up to your next level. Not sometimes, actually all the time. Anytime you move up to a new level in life, there's some discomfort you're going to have to deal with, because it involves change. And human beings, we are wired to not change. So technically, when you really think about it, to create success, which requires constant change, is actually, it goes against the natural inclination of being human. The natural inclination of being human is keeping everything the same and staying in our comfort zones and not changing at all. So people who actually create success on a consistent basis, they are anomalies. They are going against the grain of the wiring of being human. This is why so few people are actually successful, because it is not our normal default state. Our normal default state is status quo, stay the same, don't change at all. So when you're willing to change and go against the grain, go against the status quo, and voluntarily make yourself uncomfortable by trading in new actions, people, places, and habits for what you're used to, you are doing something different than what everybody else does. You are disagreeing with the status quo of the human existence. And this is why there's so few successful people. This is why we got to stick together. Point number 3. Today's topic, once again, is the real price of success that nobody ever told you. Number 3, many of us, I would even venture to say most of us, think we are doing the stuff that we need to do to become, quote unquote, successful. Most people think they're taking all the steps they need to take to become successful. But if you're honest with yourself, I mean, not with me, just with yourself, let me ask you a question. And not gonna be ask you a question. Let me hand you a question and you ask yourself this question, because it ain't about me. Is your current trajectory really taking you where you want to be? Let's say in the next month. Will you be where you want to be next month if you keep doing what you're doing right now? Now, I don't mean will you have reached your life goal by next month. What I mean is, will you be 30 days from now where you want to be 30 days from now if you keep doing what you've been doing for the last 30 days? Is it actually taking you where you want to be just for your next month goal? Will you be where you want to be by next year if you keep doing what you've been doing for the last year? Will you be where you want to be 10 years from now if you keep doing what you've been doing up to this point? Will your current actions repeated over the next 30 days, 365 days, 12 months, will they have you where you want to be in the next 30 days, 365, or 12 months? Or are you holding back? Or are you staying in your comfort zone out of fear of stepping outside of that comfort zone? Or are you in need of an upgrade of your actions? Do you need to get some new information? Do you need to go to some new places? Do you need to swap some people out of your life for some different people? Do you need a change in habits? Do you need to fire some of your habits and hire some new ones? As I talked about in my book, Work on Your Game. If you have not read this book, and if you're watching on camera, you see me holding it up. If you have not read this book, Work on Your Game, you can get it at workonyourgamebook.com, or just go to workonyourgame.com. You can see a list of all my books. It's workonyourgame.com/books. You need to read this book because I laid out the whole Work on Your Game philosophy in this 250-page hardcover book. And anything that I talk about on this show or in any of my books, it has been touched on some level in that book right there. That's the Bible right there. The whole Work on Your Game philosophy is a book that is called literally Work on Your Game. So the question, again, these are rhetorical questions when I'm talking to you, but they're not rhetorical when you're talking to yourself. Point number 4. Today's topic, once again, is the real price of success that most people don't pay. Number 4, I'm gonna give you an out clause here. Don't feel bad if I described you on point number 3. If the questions that I asked you on point number 3 make you a little bit uncomfortable just to think about them because you know what the answer is and you're not quite so proud of that answer, don't feel bad about it. Don't feel bad if the actions that you've been taking over the last 30 days, 90 days, 300 days are not really having you on a trajectory of where you want to be in life. If you know that that's the case, don't feel bad about yourself. Don't condemn yourself. Don't talk down on yourself. Don't beat yourself up about it. Don't think that there's anything wrong with you. All right, don't have an existential midlife crisis just because I pointed some things out to you and held the mirror up to you in such a way that maybe you realize that you're holding yourself back and that you have been unconsciously, fearfully remaining in your comfort zone. If that's you, don't feel bad because as I already explained, it's normal to be in that space. It's normal for human beings. This is our normal default positioning to not push ourselves out of our comfort zones. It's our normal default positioning to not change people, places, habits, and ideas. It's our normal thing to just stay where we are and to think that we're headed towards success because we are being busy, but we're not really being productive towards where we want to go. Because it's easy to make ourselves, if you're good at what you do and you're relatively intelligent, you can make yourself look busy and be active every single day. But are you really getting yourself towards the success that you want through that busyness and activity every day? For many of us, the answer is no. Many of us are just running on a treadmill. And we're exercising, we're sweating, we're tired at the end of the day, but are you actually making any progress? So if you find yourself guilty of that, running on that life treadmill, but not really going anywhere, don't feel bad. Because if you really look around, 97% of the people on the planet are doing the exact same thing that you're doing. So you have company. All right, you're not by yourself. Most people in life never change. All right, this is just a fact. Most people never change. Everybody gets older every single day. Today, you are a day older than you were yesterday. And this year, you're a year older than you were last year. It doesn't matter how many candles you have on the cake. Every one of us gets older every day and every year. All of us get older, but not all of us change. You know anybody who you haven't seen them in 10 years, you run into them and you talk to them for a little while, you realize they're pretty much the same person they were a decade ago? Or you don't talk to somebody for 5 years, or you don't talk to somebody for a month, and they're pretty much the same person. You ain't seen somebody since high school, run into them. They're pretty much the same person. They're just older and they got kids now and a job. Nothing else is different. They're pretty much the same person. Any of you had that experience before? Of course you have. Why? Most people don't change. Most people become a certain type of individual between the ages of 18 and 25. Most human beings become a certain type of individual, and it doesn't matter how long they live, they never change from that point forward. Their development is done. By around age 25 is usually around the latest that someone completes the stages of puberty where they physically grow into their physical body. Their brain pretty much develops as far as it's going to develop, and they do not grow or change in any other way other than getting older from that point forward. pretty much the same person at 65 that they were at 27. Most people. And it's not because these people are, I'm not saying it to condemn people. It's not because they're dumb. It's not because they don't want success, quote unquote, want success. It's because they don't want to, consciously or unconsciously, most of the time it's unconscious, they don't want to step far enough out of their comfort zones to really get to that success. And if I can emphasize one thing over everything I've said here today, is that for you to create the success that you want in your life, you must step outside of what you are comfortable with. And all you need to do is look yourself in the mirror and ask yourself, how often are you stepping outside of what you're comfortable with in order to get towards that success? Because if what you're already comfortable with was enough for you to get success, you would already have it. Therefore, something needs to change in your life in order for you to get the success. You have to step outside of some part of your comfortable, known conditions in order to get to your success. The question is, how often are you doing that? Do you just do it every now and then when you get motivated and hyped up, or twice a year when you go to some conference, or every now and then when you hear something on a podcast, or you read something in a book, or you see something on Instagram to get you hyped up and you're like, man, I got to do something different, and you're excited for about 2 hours and then you go right back to doing the same stuff you were doing before? How often are you doing this? Are you doing it on a regular basis? Are you doing it strategically? Do you have people around you who can help you with this? Do you have people around you who will challenge you with this? Or are you kind of just floating by, living on life's proverbial treadmill? You're working. I mean, you're listening to a show called Work on Your Game. So I'm assuming you work on a consistent basis. But is your work actually taking you to where you want to go? There's a difference, everybody, between work and progress. Are you working or are you progressing? I'm going to let you sit with that question. I'm going to recap today's class, which is the real price of success that many people never pay. Point number 1, in the book Thick Face, Black Heart, Chen Ning Chu, read this book, explains, quote, each of us is driven to a certain extent by fear to rise, fear to fall, fear that we will remain in the same place. So many of us think that we want to be rich, that we want to be famous, that we want to accomplish great deeds, but often these feelings are just idle ruminations. Most of the things we think we want come at the price of leaving behind our familiar life and venturing into the unknown. Every time we accomplish something and move ahead, we have to exchange the known conditions of our life for uncertainty and unfamiliarity. Even though most people think they are trying to succeed, they are simply going through the motions. The last thing in the world they want is to get off the familiar treadmill and actually get somewhere. Before we can succeed, we must clearly understand that success means change and a risk of failure. The failure of those who do not try anything great is commonplace and comfortably private. The failure of those who attempt extraordinary accomplishments is much more public and generally accompanied by signs of satisfaction from ordinary failures. Close quote. Point number 2. Here's what I said. The change you want will require that you trade some of your current comforts and known circumstances for uncertainty that accompanies new actions, new places, new people, and new habits. This sounds easy, simple, and desirable. Most people are excited to hear this until they finally find out what those changes actually are, which are uncomfortable for them. Because if they were comfortable for you, you would already have done them without needing to hear it from anybody else. But that's okay. Point number 3. Many of us, most of us, I would say, think we are doing stuff that we need to do to become successful. But if you're honest with yourself, ask yourself honestly, is your current trajectory really taking you where you want to be, or are you just telling yourself that so you can feel better and so you can sleep at night? Are you holding back? Are you in need of an upgrade of actions, of people, of habits, of places? Do you need some new information since your current plan isn't it and you don't know what the right plan would be? Or are you actually on that trajectory? Most people are not, but many people tell themselves that they are. They're busy, but they are not progressing. Point number 4, don't feel bad if I described you just now, because most people never change. Most people become a certain type of individual around age 18 to 25, and they do not change from there other than they just get older, they get kids, and they get a job. That's it. They don't do anything different. Not because they're dumb, not because they don't want success, but because they do not want to unconsciously step far enough out of their comfort zones to really get to the success that they want in life. And I didn't say this in yesterday's masterclass, but I should have said it. I will say it here. I have opened up my 3rd-day mastermind. If you are looking for someone who can coach you, someone who can help hold you accountable, who can help give you information, help make sure that you are stepping outside of your comfort zone, that you are stepping into the people, the places, the habits, the ideas, the changes that you actually will need in order to make progress. Not just activity, not just being busy, not just working on your game, but actual progress. Then you need to get on a call with me. Go to workonyourgameuniversity.com. Click the button that says join the mastermind. Fill out a short form. I'll send you a link. You schedule a call with me. We'll hop on Zoom. This is free of charge. We'll talk about where you're at, where you want to go. I'll tell you how I can help you, make you an offer, see if we can make this work. That is my 3rd-day mastermind. That is the only place that I offer direct coaching. I do not offer coaching or mentoring anywhere else. only in Work on Your Game University. So send me a text and tell me the best insight you got from today's class. My number is 305-384-6894. And if you're interested in being coached directly with me, then hit me up and Work on Your Game University. We'll schedule a call and we'll talk about what we need to talk about. Work on your game. Dre all day.